Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're going to talk about how you could strum through a song called The Outsiders by Eric Church. And we'll talk about some drop D options actually later on, but we're going to start off kind of just in root position around a D minor chord. And when you play D minor, first finger is going to go on the first fret on the high E string, second finger on the G string, second fret, and then the third or the fourth finger on the B string on the third fret. And if you strum the D string to the high E string, that sounds a D minor chord, and it sounds really, really sad. Now there's this cool little bass line actually around that through our intro and our verse where you kind of hear the open D, and then third fret on the D string, and then third fret on the A string, and then back to the open D string. And there's some cool little bass licks there where you could go open D, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 0, 3, 0, 3, and kind of work those. And if you're a little bit more adventurous, you could kind of get your pick to be your bass player and use your fingers to kind of play the G and the B string by going kind of that open D bass, and then 3 and 2 together, and then 3 on the D string for kind of that bass chord, bass, and then go to the 3 on the A string for kind of that bass chord, and then kind of throwing in that 3 0 3 0 3 lick at the end. So you're kind of working the D note, F, C, C, D, C, D, C, D, chord, F chord, F chord, F, C, chord, and then 3 0 3 0 3. And you could kind of work that for your verse, or if you want to strum that, you could kind of use bigger chords actually for those bass hits. So you could start out on the D minor chord, but then go to an F major chord. And when you play F major, first finger goes across the entire first fret. We'll talk about an easy way to play this in a moment too. Second finger is going to go to the G string on the second fret, third finger on the A string third fret, and the pinky on the D string third fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds an F major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. Now a good substitute for that is something called F major 7. When you play F major 7, first finger goes to the B string on the first fret, second finger on the G string second fret, and then third finger on the D string on the third fret. And if you strum the D string to the high E string, that sounds an F major 7, and it sounds really, really groovy happy. And then from the F, you can kind of back up that C in the bass with a C chord. When we play C major, first finger goes to the B string first fret, second finger on the A string second fret, and third finger on the A string on the third fret. And if you strum the A string to the high E string, that sounds a C major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And then you can kind of work it back to that D minor actually, and if you wanted to, you can kind of throw in that bass lick around that chord. So you have D minor, F, C, D minor, D minor, F, C, D minor, kind of working around the chord that way. Now something else you may want to try with it is something called a strum pattern. One of my favorite strum patterns for a 4/4 like this is down, down, up, up, down, up. So if you took the D minor and just tried that like that, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Now another way you can kind of work that progression is kind of halving that strum pattern between the chords. So you have D minor with down, down, up, then F with a up, down, up, C with a down, down, up, D minor with a up, D minor with a down, down, up, F, up, down, C, down, down, up, D minor, up, down, D minor, down, down, up, F, up, down, C, down, down, up, D minor, up, down, up. Now another strum pattern I would think about through the song though is something called a 16th note strum pattern. And what I mean by that is if you're tapping your foot to the beat, right now we're kind of dividing that beat into two parts with our down, down, up, up, down, up. 1, 2, 1, 2, and that's called an 8th note. What a 16th note is where you divide it into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of my favorite 16th note strum patterns is long down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, up. And what I mean by that is if you take the D minor and do it down for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you do on the first beat. Then on the second beat, you do it down on 1, down on 3, up on 4. So you'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, down, down, up, down, down, up. And then on the third beat, you'd be doing up on 2, down on 3. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, up, down, 1, up, down, 1, up, down. And then on the last beat, we'd be going down, up, right along with the 1, 2, 3, 4. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So all together, you got down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down. So another way to work it is to kind of half that strum pattern. So you have D minor, down, down, up on the D minor. minor, and then the F for the up, down, down, up, down, up. The C with the down, 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 up. D minor with the up, down, down, up. D minor, down, down, up, F, up, down, down, up, down, C, down, 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 up, D minor, up, down, down, up, down, up, D minor, down, down, up, F, up, down, down, up, down, up, C, down, down, up, D minor, up, down, down, up, down, up. And then from there we'll be repeating that until we get to our chorus part. And our chorus, it kind of becomes about bass notes too. And the bass line really kind of works the open D string to the 3rd fret on the A string to the 2nd fret on the A string. And then we kind of even could kind of throw in that D minor lick again. So open D, C, G slash B. Kind of the chords that would kind of back that up. You kind of start on D minor and then a C. It almost sounds like on that B note on the A string on the 2nd fret, you play a G major chord. When we play G major, first finger goes to the A string on the 2nd fret, 2nd finger on the low E string on the 3rd fret, and 3rd finger goes to the high E string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G major chord. But what you may want to do is kind of try and work just the A string to the high E string, and that's something called G slash B. And then from that chord, we go back to our D minor. We end up doing that 4 times. So we could kind of try that with our strum pattern too. We could do the down, down, up, down, up, and have D minor with the down, down, up, C, up, down, up, G, down, down, up, D minor, up, down, up, D minor, down, down, up, C, up, down, G, down, down, up, D minor, up, down, up. Or we could try our 16th pattern and have D minor, down, down, up, C, up, down, down, up, down, G, down, 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 up, D minor, up, down, down, up, down, D minor, down, 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 up, C, up, down, down, up, down, G, down, 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 up, D minor, up, down, down, up, down. Or if you're kind of digging more on kind of that bass fingers idea, you could keep that going too. Kind of working that around the D minor chord. So D minor, C in the bass, G slash B. You're just kind of taking that 2nd fret on the A string is enough to kind of imply that chord. You could throw in the lick at the end. D minor, C, G slash B, D minor, D minor, C, G slash B, B. And then from there, then we'd be going into a chorus tag where we'd have D minor, and then the C major, and then the G slash B, but then we go to a B flat major chord. And when we play B flat major, first finger goes across the entire 1st fret, and normally you use 2nd finger on the D string 3rd, 3rd finger on the G string 3rd, pinky on the B string 3rd, which is ridiculously evil, and that's called B flat major. But what you could do is kind of do that as a double bar, where you kind of do the 3rd finger over the D, D, and B, and kind of work 1st finger over the whole of the fret. But the main thing is really that bass note on the A string on the 1st fret. So you could even kind of take the D minor and kind of find some ways to kind of work that bass line around, kind of that, work it that way. D minor, C, G slash B, B flat. So you may want to kind of play around with just kind of working that bass line around the chord too. Kind of just trying to bring that out. So I'm going kind of bass, down, down, C with an A bass, down, down, G slash B with an A bass, down, down, B flat with an A bass, down, down, D minor. I'm just kind of holding on to my 2nd finger and my 4th finger to kind of cover that little piece of the D minor. So you may want to kind of think about using that there too. Or you can even kind of keep that finger style actually, or kind of that finger style feel. Kind of working the C, G slash B, B flat, D minor, C, G slash B, B flat, kind of keeping those licks there. And then right after that, there's this cool, crazy little break where you hear this lead lick where you go 1st fret on the B string, and then 3rd fret on the B string, and then open D, and then 1st fret on the B, 2nd fret on the G, and then 3rd fret on the B string twice. And then we kind of hit a C chord, but what you may want to think about using is something called a power chord. The way you play a C5 power chord, you put 1st finger on the A string, 3rd fret, 3rd finger on the D string on the 5th fret, and if you strum the A and the D string together, that sounds a C5. So you might do that kind of just a big C5 break. And I'm just trying to play the A and the D string together for that. So now 1, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, C5. And then from there, there's this cool little bass line where you play first fret on the A string, second on the A, third on the A, second on the A, and then we kind of repeat that. And then we do a B flat 5 power chord where you do first finger on the A string second or first fret, third finger on the D string third fret, and if you strum the A and the D strings together, that sounds a B flat 5. So you may want to kind of think about doing that for that bass line, kind of getting that hit there. And then from there, then we'd be going back into kind of our verse part. Now, we've been talking a lot about bass notes, and actually you could even make that part of the strum pattern. So on the D minor, for instance, you could do the D string for your bass. On the F, you'd have the D string for your bass. On the C, you'd have the A string for your bass. I'm kind of working bass down, up, down, and bass down, up, down. And then the D minor would have the D string for your bass. So you could kind of add bass notes into that verse part and have D minor with the D bass down, up, and then F up, down, C with an A bass down, up, D minor up, down, D with a minor, D bass down, up, F up, down, C with an A bass down, up, D minor up, down, up. Or if you're digging on the 16th pattern, you can kind of do that same kind of thing where you'd have D with a D bass down, down, up, and then F with a up bass down, up, C with an A bass down, down, up, D minor up bass down, D minor with a D bass down, up, F up bass down, C with an A bass down, up, D minor up bass down, up. And if we tried that idea on our chorus, we could do that with kind of our bass down, up, and have D minor with D bass down, up, C, up, down, G slash B with an A bass down, up, D minor up, down, D minor with a D bass down, up, C, up, down, G slash B with an A bass down, up, D minor up, down, up. Or you can try that with that 16th pattern, have D minor with D bass down, C, up, bass down, G slash B with an A bass down, D minor up, bass down, D minor with D bass down, C, up, bass down, G slash B with an A bass down, D minor up, bass down. Kind of dig on that. And we could try that same idea with our chorus tag. So you could add basses to that, and you have D minor with a D bass down, up, C, up, down, G slash B with an A bass down, up, B flat, up, down, D minor with a D bass down, up, C, up, down, G slash B with an A bass down, up, B flat, up, down, up. Or you could try the 16th pattern and have D minor down, C, up, bass down, G slash B with down, B flat, up, bass down, D minor with D bass down, C, up, bass down, G slash B with an A bass down, B flat, up, down. And then from there, then we'd be going into our bridge part. And on our bridge part, we start on D minor, and then we do a D minor, and then there's kind of a push to a C with kind of a 1, 2, 3 kind of push. And then we kind of hang out on D minor a little bit more, and then we got a little bit more D minor, and then we kind of got that push on the C, and then we go back to D minor, and then we go back to C, and then we go to D minor, and then it's almost like we have a push on an F, and then a G major, and then we go back to D minor, and then C, and then D minor, and then there's this really cool push where you might want to think about using power chords for this, where you have C with kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, B flat, or B, B, C major, or C5, B flat 5, and then we go to an A or an A5 power chord. And the way you play A5, first finger goes to the D on the 2nd fret, and you kind of strum the A and the D strings together. So you want to kind of think about kind of working that for your push at the end. Or you could kind of work it as an A major chord where you do first finger on the D string 2nd fret, second finger on the G string 2nd fret, and then the third finger on the B string 2nd fret. And if you strum all those together, then that sounds an A major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. So you may want to kind of think about using that through that part. You could actually kind of work that bridge part with the 16th. And then the C minor, D minor, C, D minor, C. Then we got the D minor, F, G, D minor, C, D minor. But then we kind of go into that break where we got the C. Awesome outro D licks. Now something else I would think about with the song though is using something called drop D tuning, and what drop D tuning means is you take the low E string and you basically retune that, kind of lowering it until you get it kind of matched up with your D string. And what that does is that power chord idea we were talking about for the C5 and the B flat 5, now you have that as kind of a D5 power chord on the low E string, and the A and the D kind of all open. So So to do the tuning, you're kind of trying to get the D so it sounds really good with the other D, or the low E string sounds good with the D. It should sound like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow, kind of between those. So you may want to kind of think about using that, and what that can do is on the D minor chord, now you've got a low D string that you can kind of work. F's actually to get low E too. Let's see, D, F, C, D, D, F, C, D minor. So you may want to kind of think about using that kind of through that verse too, and actually it can kind of give you some cool options. If we tried that through the chorus, then you could kind of work that same kind of thing. You could have the D minor with the low D, C, and the G/B kind of still aiming for the A string. All those D minors, you could use the low D now for kind of the basses on that. So to make it sound more like you're playing with the bass player to kind of work that. G/B, D minor. Or if we tried that through the chorus tag, you'd have the D minor, opens up some really cool lick possibilities actually, like through that outro part where you could play the low open D and then the open D, open E, or open D, or wow, they're both Ds. Oh, this is confusing. So I'm going from the low E string to the D string and then open E, and then there are all these cool little bass licks where you could kind of work them on the low D string, where you could go open D, second on the low E, third fret on the low E, fifth fret on the low D. Yeah, kind of working that. And actually, you could even think about doing this power chord wise. And kind of working all these licks actually are across the A, D, A, and D strings. Low E, A, D. And then 5. And then we could go open, and 1, 2, 3, 5. So you might want to kind of work that as kind of filling in some time on that too. And then there's this cool lick where you could go 0, 2, 3, and then 5, 3, 0 is kind of a pull off. 5, 3, 0, 5, 3, 0. So I'm kind of playing the 5th fret, pulling off the 3rd fret, back to low open D. And you can do that on that one string, or you can do it as a power chord lick. And then we go 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, 3, 5, 8. And then we go 7, 5, 0, 7, 5, 7, 8, 7, 5, 7, 7, 5, 3, 2, oh, and then there's this crazy little bend lick where you can go 10 on the high E and 13 on the B string. That's kind of a bend idea. Low D's, and then you got 13th fret on the high E string, and then 10 on the high E, and then you kind of back to some of those other licks that 0, 3, 2, 0, 10, 0, 3, 2, 0, 10, and then 10, 7, 10, 7, 5, 3, 5, 5, 5, 7, 5, 8, 7, 8, 10, 8, 10, 12. It's kind of that last little bit. So all together you got the open D's, 2, 3, 5, 0, 2, 3, 5, 0, 2, 3, 5, 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, 5, 8, 7, 5, 7, 8, 7, 5, 7, 8, 7, 5, 3, 2, with that too. Actually, you can even kind of make that whole thing kind of a jam on those notes too. find how you want to play the Outsiders, because I'm an outsider. But that's the basics of how you can play the Outsiders by Eric Church. So good luck!